Good morning, KMMA tribe, friends and family. I am here at Krav Maga Martial Arts getting ready to make it a great day and do what I love, which is orchestrate and execute the vision and the mission of Krav Maga Martial Arts. Off to a little bit of a late start this morning. It is my 53rd birthday today, and I'm very happy and grateful for all those years. I'm going to do a birthday blog and a birthday podcast, amongst other things, later, just talking about some of reflections and lessons and gratitudes from my life. But this morning, I wanted to do this video before I get too far into my day and actually address an email that I got from a student. All my students are, of course, also my friends. From a student this morning at 9:07 a.m. And I read it this morning while having coffee with my wife, and I reflected upon it on my bike ride in, and now I have a message for you. Obviously, I'm not going to name who this comes from because of the somewhat delicate subject matter of the email and of the message. However, I believe that honestly, the thing will resonate with many people that hear this message, and honestly, especially men, and especially young to middle-aged men that hear this message. So he says, "Good morning. How are you? All is well here. Looking forward to class tonight. As I was telling you before, one of the reasons why I wanted to come back to the school is to deal with some of the negative feelings I have inside about myself in social settings and situations. While I can play the game, so to speak, and conduct myself well socially, internally there's a hurricane of negative emotions taking place. One thing I feel I'm dealing with is imposter syndrome. When I accomplish something or somebody responds well to me in a conversation, I often have feelings that I somehow fooled people into thinking I'm a good, deserving person. In reality, they wouldn't like me if they knew the real me. I know this not to be true, but I can't kick the feeling. I wanted your take on this if you have the time. I know you're super busy, but if you do, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll see you at the dojo." And so I wanted to address this to my student and friend, and to anyone who deals with this thing called imposter syndrome. It's the feeling that you're not really good enough, and you wonder if you're just faking it. And in fact, here's the first thing. I want to tell you three things. I'm talking to my friend now. I'm just not gonna. I could make up a fake name. We're gonna call him Joe for the sake of this thing. So Joe, I'm going to tell you three things, and then I'm going to tell you three things about the third thing. Okay, so the first thing I want to tell you about this thing we call imposter syndrome is that it's very, very common. In fact, not only is it very common, but it's especially very common upon for high achieving. Like many of the high achieving and successful people that you know struggle with imposter syndrome, or at least have in some point in their life, which leads to number two. I spent much of my life dealing with this problem, and the truth of the matter is, I 17 years old, I was already off to basic training in the airborne school, and then off with the 82nd Airborne Division, and so I had become a paratrooper. Was doing great things and learning from great men, and then I went on. I won an Army Green to Go scholarship. Army paid my way through to school. I got some bachelor's degrees. I got my commission as an officer. I went off and had a relatively successful military career, albeit somewhat short, because I made it to captain, and then I got out, and then I opened the school and did all kinds of things. I got my master's degree, my MBA, and obviously several accomplishments in the martial arts, and personally and professionally. And the point of the story, Joe, is that I still had the feeling that you just described, often wondering if I was really good enough or I was just fooling people. Many, many people, and especially many men, deal with this. The third thing I want to tell you is that I did eventually get this thing under control, though, and get to a point where it's very, very seldom a problem anymore. And now I want to talk to you about the three things about the third thing. Remember, which is how do we do something about this? How do we solve it? Well, number one, I want to tell you that there's probably some faulty programming going on. While I've already told you that it's a very common thing, I will also tell you that it's especially common and especially hard for people that got some negative programming in their formative years. So if you had a father or other authority influence that was very important to you, telling you while you were young that you weren't smart enough, you weren't good enough, you weren't all the reasons what was wrong with you, then this is a very difficult thing to deal with. So that's number one. Number two is that besides the figuring out the issues, I didn't really finish number one. Number one, really, you have to figure out what these unresolved issues are, and you have to deal with them. You have to think through them. You have to work through them. You have to forgive the people that told you those things, and you have to accept that, very likely those people are gone. In either case, what they thought of you doesn't really matter today. What matters is what you think of you. That's number one. Number two is that, it is possible. Not only is it possible, but it's honestly a big piece of what we do here at Krav Maga Martial Arts. It is possible to rewire your brain. So one of the very, very important things that you do is all of the input has to be good. The things that you listen to, the things that you read, the things that you watch, the people you associate with, and especially the mentors that you allow into your life have to be positive, empowering people that move you to become a better and higher version of yourself, that move you to realize that you are good enough and you have greatness within you. So, and by the way, the third thing about the second thing is that the most important conversation is the one that you have with yourself, your self-talk. In fact, if you haven't read it yet, it's one of the books we do here in our Black Belt Leadership Program. But if you haven't seen it or read it yet, you should read What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And the third thing, I'm going to give the final lesson this morning before I get on with my day. I actually have a meeting waiting outside, but I had to get this out to you first. Is this, that as is often the case, this situation is very, very similar to a martial. We can create a martial analogy from our Krav Maga martial arts. And martial meaning, of course, the combative, actual self-defense piece of what we do. When the enemy thinks to appear before you, when somebody would see you harmed, we don't ignore this person. We don't pretend like they're not there. We don't just try to go about our way while they're attacking us. We also don't try to appease them. We also don't allow them to defeat us. On the contrary, what we do is apply the principles of Krav Maga. The first thing we do is identify and remove the immediate threat. We give simultaneous and violent counterattack. We control the weapons, counterattack as necessary, and disengage from the situation. I challenge you to apply those principles the next time the enemy of the imposter syndrome or any other stinking thinking, any other limiting belief comes upon you, Joe. First of all, you got to identify that that's what's happening. That it's not that anything is true, it's that the enemy is in front of you. The second thing you have to do is simultaneous and violent counterattack. So every lie you have to confront directly. You have to say, no, that's not me. I am good enough. Okay, maybe that part was once true, but I overcame that. I'm a different man. You have to have self-talk that lets you know that you are the real deal and you can win at this thing, at whatever it is that you're set out to do in life, right? You control the weapon by then getting away from that negative self-thought, right? And engaging yourself in a positive situation, training, working. I know what it is that you do that you're great at. Pouring yourself into that, doing the things that prove that you are deserving and worthy. Counterattack as necessary. Do what you got to do, right? And then disengage, move on, right? So my point of the story, the three things. You got to deal with any unresolved issues. You have to rewire the brain for positive thought, and you have to directly attack this enemy when he comes before you. he will eventually be defeated. He'll come less and less into your heart and your mind and your emotion and your life the more times that you defeat him. So I hope this video has been helpful to you, and I hope it be helpful to everybody that's listened to it. And let's go forth and make it an awesome day, because the truth of the matter is that if anybody's dealing with this thing called the imposter syndrome, remember that the most important thing you can do is go out and be great at the thing that God put in you. That's what I'm going to do. Make it a great day.